Welcome to the Encore today. I have a good friend, Todd Deering, with me, one of our elders here at the church. Todd, welcome in.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Good to have you. We're gonna deal with a couple weeks ago. We talked about questions that have been asked by you, the viewers, and we had mentioned many of them are, possibly like one episode things we could talk forever. We're gonna hope to get through 3 today. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. You have a lot of questions. There's a lot.
And they're still coming in, and I love it. And I would say keep them coming. I love it. It helps me think. It also helps us prepare for things like that too. But
I see. So I get some of the questions.
Okay.
I see them.
Okay.
And sometimes I'm like, oh man, I'm glad these guys are going to answer those and not me.
Yeah.
Some of them are tough.
Some of them are very tough, and but I think they're really good, and they're good to think through all of that. So, Todd, you have been on the Encore before. We did a marriage one.
Yeah, it was the last one.
Several months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. So, so today's topic is kind of, I like to say question and response. I know I'm not trying to be all weird, but like when you say answer, it's just not as easy as a yes or no. Like there's conversation and explanation with it, and I think for each one of these, like there's just no obvious answer. So I say response in the sense of like, we're going to talk through it. We want you to think through it.
Yeah.
How to think scripturally, biblically through some of those things.
I don't think there's a one sentence answer for these.
Yeah. So. Right. So you say Q&A, yeah, whatever. I like the thing question and response, but I always try to do, Wes and I always try to do light stuff to kind of kick us off. So just some lighthearted stuff for you. Yeah. I'll throw at you.
Okay.
All right. So.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Some of this stuff maybe we've talked about before, but whatever. So Todd and Lisa lead our marriage ministry here at The Rock. You've been at The Rock for how long now?
We'll
get to know Todd.
Yeah, we'll make it the simple answer.
Yeah.
2011.
Okay.
So whatever that math is, 11 years.
11 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And you've been an elder for how long here?
It's almost been a year.
It's almost been a year. I actually didn't know the answer to that.
February, so I mean we're still a few months away from a year.
Okay.
But yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Man, well, Todd has been a wonderful addition to the team. I love having him. It's funny because sometimes I have this sense of you that I've known you forever. Yeah, I get that. Like when I'm around you, I'm like, I feel like I've known Todd forever. And sometimes we talk at the elder meeting of previous meetings, and you're like, hold on, rewind. What are we talking about? And you go, oh, we just assumed you've always been here.
I wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. I think I know this answer from you.
Uh-oh.
You can move one place for the rest of your life. Where are you going?
This goes down. You guys have done some what's your favorite states and things like that. So Lisa and I have visited Tennessee like several times with her family. Okay. We did actually her nephew's wedding down there a couple years ago. I think Tennessee is the place. It is like, I love the terrain there. It's like there's mountains, and the weather seems like it's kind of in the middle, like we've been in Florida. It's pretty hot and humid there. Hurricanes, things like that. Tennessee, it's got milder. So I think Tennessee would be the place. I don't know where exactly in Tennessee.
Oh, you haven't narrowed it down?
No, we've looked, but somewhere like, mountainous, like probably in the east side of the state.
Yeah.
It's just a great state. Yeah. Tennessee. Not that I hate Michigan. I love Michigan too.
You do? Do you love Michigan?
I love Michigan. But this is the thing. Michigan tricks you every year because this weather we're having right now, it's sunny, it's beautiful. And you're like, oh, it's so nice.
I know.
Lisa and I had a fire last night out on the deck. We're like, oh, isn't this beautiful?
Yeah.
But in about 2 months, I am going to want to move to Tennessee.
Bad,
every year.
I know, yeah.
And in February, March, it just drags and drags and drags, and I think, why do I live here?
You're right.
And then the summer comes, and you're like, oh, it's so beautiful.
And we go through it every year. Every year we go through it.
Yeah, the fall, it's so pretty. So, Tennessee, it's the place.
Tennessee is a good place. It's a good place. I enjoy it. I was
Where would yours be?
It is probably
You're going to say Arizona, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. It's probably northern Arizona, I think. Northern California is very, very close. Let's call it 1A, 1B.
I could see that.
It would definitely be the West for me. I could live in 100 different places somewhere west and just be like, I just love it. West. I say West is best.
There's a lot.
But
of
I do love Michigan.
Yeah,
I really do.
Well, yeah, you're a huge Michigan person.
I'm a Michigan person. I was talking to a person last night in the voting polls or whatever in line, and we had talked about. I was wearing a Lions shirt. And he's like, "Oh man, loyal, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, heck yeah, I'm loyal, man. Like I'm not a fair weather guy. Like these guys have been awful my whole life.
Let's
be loyal."
true.
And he said, "What is it about Michiganders and loyalty? Like it does seem like there's a loyalty with Michiganders.
People
Do you
still
see that?
wear Lions things.
Well, the very fact that the Detroit Lions exist as a team shows that we're loyal.
Somebody's going to the games.
They should be long gone, kicked out of the NFL. Like definitely,
we have hope.
And people are going to the games.
People are going. They have to.
I know. Buying jerseys.
I don't know. Yeah, I see people around with their Lions hats on and stuff. You had a Lions hat on the other day.
Of course I did. Yeah. Win or lose, buddy. And it's mostly lose. But it's all right. All right, cool. Let's dive into this.
Okay.
A little bit. So the first question, so these are all questions that you guys sent in. I want to say thank you for them. Again, keep them coming. We can't promise that we're going to get to everybody's all the time. Some of them were asked multitude of times, so we kind of combined a couple too. So speaking of Michigan and speaking of November.
Oh, yes.
I am not one of these people, but I think November, is it the 15th? That's like the opening day
15th. Well, it's already hunting season for bow.
Okay, so there's bow, and then
gun season starts the 15th, so that's the big opening day.
Okay. Yeah. But it seems that's bigger than bow season for me because I know the date, and I'm not even a hunter.
Yep, that's big.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk about hunting, and animals, and the fate of animals. Yeah, holy cow! This is. And I went down some rabbit trails with this and preparing and going, I didn't think I was going to get into this deep water with it.
Yeah.
Are you a hunter?
People ask me that. I have hunted.
Okay.
And I have shot a deer and processed it myself and all. Like I enjoyed it, but that's all I've done one time.
Yep.
I've been out hunting more than that. But I've got,
Okay.
So I'm not a big hunter.
Okay.
But I would hunt. All right. Every year I'm like, I'm going to hunt this year. And
really? Okay.
Get busy and
yeah.
But yeah,
okay.
I'm a hunter.
You're a hunter. Okay.
I have all the stuff to hunt.
Okay. All right. I'm definitely not a hunter.
Yeah.
I went out one time, just to kind of say that I did it and tried it. Saw some stuff and took 0 shots, and I was like, you know what?
It's cold.
I think I'm good for life. Like I'm okay. If my kids said, let's get into this a little bit more, I'd be into whatever they wanted to do. But
so you're not against hunting?
I'm not against hunting. No. Okay.
So what are the 3 questions? What are the 3 parts of this question?
Yeah. The first one is. Thanks. You're keeping me on track here. I know I could just ramble forever.
Well, no,
Todd's going. Let's get to the.
I just want to make sure.
Let's talk about the first one.
Okay.
Should a Christian hunt? Is it okay for a Christian to hunt? Let's talk about why or why not.
Is it okay for a Christian to hunt? So looking back, okay, and this has always kind of confused me. I think Lisa and I have talked about this on different occasions, but in Genesis, it talks about how God made everything and how we were given everything, but it isn't extremely specific because when it talks about God said to them, be fruitful and to multiply, fill the earth. You have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing. But then it said, I have given you every plant yielding seed and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. Mm-hmm. So it's almost implying, and many people have said this in the beginning, that animals didn't kill animals and, all these things. And it was just everybody ate vegetables and things, right?
Right.
Are you on board with that?
I think that is probably the case.
There was no killing. There was no death. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it even goes on to say, the beasts of the earth and all these things, everything that has breath of life, I have given every green plant for food. Mm-hmm. So the food for the animals was that also. Mm-hmm. But then Genesis 9, so after we have Noah, he the ark and survives and all that stuff. And then in Genesis 9 it says, and God blessed Noah and his sons, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. So he repeats the command he gave Adam. Uh-huh. And he says, the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground and all the flesh of the sea. Into your hand they are delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. Mm. And as I have given you the green plants, I give you everything. And so I think I feel like that is a God has given all of his creation for us to care for, and the animals were to be food. And we see hunting take place and those things throughout the Old Testament. It's not condemned in any way, I don't think.
Right.
I couldn't find any examples of...
Yeah. I think we said this up front. Like, a lot of this is gray to know, like, directly. But I do think that. I'm with you there. So I think the next question in that would be hunting for sport. Is that a different category? So if that is meant for food, and I would just say, like, we have to answer this, like, be consistent with it. There are some people, I don't know all of their reasons, that choose to be vegetarians, and I think a lot of that is due to opposing animal cruelty. I want no part of that. And in some ways, I can respect that. I can, but sometimes, like, but then the next question. So how about hunting just for sport? What should a Christian think of that?
I would be a little less likely to endorse that. I guess I shouldn't say that. Let me be more clear. I don't think that there's anything wrong with hunting for sport, but I do think that there is a certain respect that we have to have for these animals and for God's creation. I think that there's been a lot of that has been done in a way that has been disgraceful, shooting and leaving animals, and a lot of that has decimated numbers and even brought animals to extinction and all these things. I don't think that is, God has called man to take care of his creation, not to slaughter it all. But then again, you have hunting a deer, it is lawful. It is in Michigan, that's what we hunt, right? And if you hunt for that trophy rack and it's legal, and there's also about population management and other things. And I think that's okay. I'm not against that. Now, me personally, I think you should use the animal to its fullest. I think that's respectful to that animal's life and eat it. That's why I stand on it. But I don't think I couldn't say it's sinful for somebody to not do that.
I think that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. And I would question, like, what's your motives for doing that? And for me, I'm the same way. I mean, of course, if I was in real life survivor world, I would do what I had to do to kill and eat an animal and feed my family and not think much of it. But for me, like, I have no interest in killing for sport. Like, that's not fun to me. But I'm with you. Like, I wouldn't call that a direct sin for somebody else. But maybe ask the question, like, why? Why are you doing it? And I do think too, like, this goes a little bit with, it's kind of related with trashing the earth, or you hear, like, the extreme Christian version of it be like, well, this earth's going to burn up. God's going to create a new one. So whatever, man, throw your trash out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have a soul. And I would be like, well, God didn't ask us to have dominion and take care of the earth and to be stewards of everything that we have. And I think, like, certainly that includes his creation, trashing things. And so, like, somebody that's an extreme environmentalist in the sense, like, seems like Christians want to try to go against those environmentalists, and I'll be like, I don't know their reasons and all that, but why wouldn't we want to take care of this place?
This always has blown my mind, and I'm not going to get into political things. I'm going to stay out of it, but this has always blown my mind because many of the Christian, people that would align with certain organizations, whatever, are like against the environmentalists in a way. I'm not, and I think that you can go too far. But we as a Christ follower, as if we look at what the Bible says, we have been literally given all of creation to care for and to tend and we shouldn't trash it. We should be the biggest advocates of, like, caring for God's creation.
I would agree.
And including his animals, I think, number one. Above all else, but not above all else, but
as far as creation,
maybe that leads into the second part of the question. Maybe that leads into the second part of the question of like, what was it? How should we care for animals?
So okay. This is good conversation. So the next part, maybe I'm jumping ahead too. We can kind of talk about the in between too. But the afterlife of animals? I know a lot of people ask this question. I think let's say it this way: will animals be in heaven?
Yep.
Part 1. Part 2. Will my pet be in heaven? I think that's a lot of maybe what people are wanting.
That's what
to
they're
know.
asking.
And I get it. I understand the personal love. So, I got in a rabbit hole with this, dude. Like it went deeper than I realized it was going to go. And I might have had preconceived notions before preparing for this. So where are you at with animals? Let's start with that. Animals in heaven.
I'm kind of anxious to hear where
I'll
you're
go.
at.
I don't care.
No, I'll start. Okay. Okay, so yeah, what are people asking with this? They're asking if, my dog...
Yeah, is Fido going to be in heaven with me?
Is Fido going to be in heaven with me, right? I went down some rabbit holes too, just thinking about this. Okay, so first, are animals going to be in heaven? Well, this is a tricky question. I'm going to try to navigate carefully.
Mm-hmm.
Animals are not humans, and I don't believe that the Bible talks about how we are created in God's image. Human beings are different, right? We're set aside, and heaven is a place. Belief in Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior gives us access to the Father, and a place in eternal rest with Him, right, in heaven. I don't believe that our dog Fido understands that, or does any other animals. So that specific animal is not being saved and going to heaven with us, or right now, my cat from last year that passed away is not in heaven. I don't think that's.
Did you really lose a cat last year, or did you just make that up?
We did. Actually.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Okay.
Yeah, we did. We moved to our new house and had some cats that didn't make it. There was some poison or something around it. It was a bad deal.
Okay.
But I don't believe that the Bible says that they are in heaven right now.
Mm-hmm.
But then I have to be careful because there are certainly animals in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that the Bible talks. So I don't know where you're at on Isaiah. Were you there with, okay.
Proclaiming His glory? Is that where we're going to go?
Okay, yes, but also so we have some prophecy in Isaiah 11 that talks about how the wolf will dwell with the lamb and all these other things.
Yes, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That can be taken literally or figuratively.
Right,
There's different ways that can be taken.
Right.
We also have God's creating a new heaven and a new earth.
Yeah.
It's to restore it to the glory that it was in the beginning, where there were animals.
Yeah.
Right? So I believe there's animals in heaven.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, I believe that we don't have a clue what heaven's going to be like.
I love how you say that. Yeah.
And if my dog brought me some joy, could God bring that dog and have it be by my side in heaven? Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
I think for sure. Yeah. I think that could be.
I
can't say no to that.
Right. I like how you said it. Yeah. I would. Let's pause there. I'll respond. Then we'll get into maybe some more specifics of. I would agree with you in the sense that humans are unique, image bearers of God. We are a little bit. We are given the choice to respond to Christ or not. I don't think animals have that, like you would say, in that sense. So it isn't the same in that sense.
Right.
But like it talks about. I wrote it down and I stinking lost it. So in Isaiah is what I was going to talk about.
Okay.
It talks about like creation proclaims His whole glory, and so like a little bit of what you were saying was, I think there's always this. There's so much that we don't know about heaven, but I would imagine it is greater than we think it's going to be. So I think we picture like sitting there. I don't know this if everybody pictures this. Some streets of gold, some mansion,
right?
And like we're all sitting there worshiping. And people sometimes say like, I don't want to sing for the rest of my life. Like, I think
you will in heaven, buddy.
Right? And I would say I think it's gonna be more glorious than we can ever imagine. Meaning, the most beautiful thing that you ever seen on this earth, heaven is most likely going to be better than that.
Yeah.
So within that. I'm in northern Arizona, right? Whatever, like these Red Rock Mountains, the Grand Canyon, and even in Flagstaff, these pines and all of that. And you could see a black bear walking by, a deer, like I think that is God's creation.
Yeah.
So I would like to think, why would that not be in heaven? Like all creation groans for Him. Romans talks about that. The rocks cry out to Him. I know some of that's like metaphorically speaking in the sense. But it is there for His glory.
All of it.
right? All of it is there for his glory.
Yeah.
Certainly we can't understand it all or what that even means. So I would imagine that, there are, well, even like Jesus comes in riding on a horse. So there's a horse. I know the passage in Isaiah too. So all of that to say, I would imagine there are animals in heaven. Yeah. There is very little to know if our specific pet would be in heaven. There just isn't enough to know that.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, it's hard to just say absolutely. Right. Young Timmy, your pet, and I don't think we should necessarily say that. I think we should say what 1 Corinthians says. This is a quote from the Old Testament, but it says, "What no eye has seen, no ear has heard, nor the heart of man imagined, what God has prepared for those who love Him." It's something greater than anything we can imagine, just like you said. And so, I definitely believe that heaven could be a lot of things, and definitely our pets could be there with us.
Right.
But I don't think that every single animal is in heaven that has ever lived.
Yeah.
I mean, heaven's an infinitely big place and
right.
everything. But
so I guess it's possible. But I would kind of lean towards that. And and I to me, I would think it's okay to hope for something like that. Sure. To say, what I've always said this, like, whatever heaven is, it's better than our imagination can expect.
Yep.
So the other thing too, I can't remember if I mentioned this or not, but like eventually it will be heaven and a new earth all combined. And so you think of like what we know as the earth and all of creation and what it looks like, trees and plants and water and animals.
It's all going to be like Tennessee.
Northern Arizona. Yeah. No, but what's cool about that is, in all honesty, is like so much uniqueness in Arizona and Tennessee, like the different uniqueness. Yeah. That's what's cool about God's creation though too, is that it's all there. It's all there. And like there's there's this side of it, and you could be in the mountains, you could be in the snow, you could be in the water, you could be in it's pretty cool. So
greater than we can ever imagine.
Greater than we can ever imagine. So I think that's enough to say, man, that gives me enough hope. I don't know if my pets will be there or not, but yeah.
Yeah. It also says, there's another verse, I can't remember, it says we won't even really remember the things or not really remember, but we won't even care about our life past. Yeah. It's going to be so great, and it will fulfill you won't be missing something. There won't be something that you're like, darn it, I'm in heaven, but it's just not really that great. I wish that this was here. Like that's
right. And again, kind of not able to fully comprehend here, but being in the presence of Jesus would be more than enough. I wouldn't need Fido in the sense of like for eternal happiness. Maybe he's going to be there. That's right. Maybe God would grant that, and that's beautiful. But again, like we have to know that Jesus is going to be enough, whether we can fully comprehend that on this earth or not. So
I'm with you.
Well, man, oh man, we ate up some clock already.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Do you want to answer number 2 or 3? I won't reveal what those are. You know that order. We only have time for one more at this point. Talk about 2 or 3.
I mean, I think we should do 2.
Okay.
I do.
Okay. That's a good question. Okay.
Yeah.
So number 2. And Todd is our resident marriage guy too. So this is very fitting. Very good question about marriage and hobbies. And so the question is, like, when you're married, hobbies aren't always going to line up. Desired time spent isn't always going to line up. Yeah. There are certain things that one party could have great rejuvenation in, like this is something they love to do and it brings them life, and the other party could be bitter while that person is spending time doing that. So as a marriage counselor, like how would you counsel a couple? Again, these are not black and white answers, but something to talk through to say, man, this is something that brings me joy, but my wife gets bitter when this certain thing happens. So how would you work through that with a married couple?
I think the answer is probably more simple than we think, but the answer is simple, but it's very difficult to put into play in your life. So I remind couples this when we do premarital counseling, or what we call premarital mentorship. you are entering into a covenant with another person that is not like you. I mean, you may have similar interests and you may have things that are similar, but men and women are created very differently. We are entertained and recharged by different things many times. Again, there might be similarities, but there are lots of differences.
Yeah.
And like you said, sometimes what is fulfilling to one is draining to another, whether that is whatever different activities or parts of life.
Hunting.
Could be hunting, yes. Like I'd love to sit in the woods for 8 hours and just someone else, that would be dreadful and cold and awful.
Yeah.
So what I always remind people is you are entering into a covenant with another person, and you're going to give up some things that were centered to your life. And that doesn't always happen on day one. There's a learning that goes through. My wife and I have gone through lots of learning over the past, 11 years. But there's you are going to have to sacrifice for one another. So we read from Ephesians 5. I won't read the whole thing because it's a big chunk here, but Ephesians 5:22 through 32. Wives, submit to your husbands, and husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. We read those two things always, and it is a mutual sacrifice. Yeah. So I'm going to look to what recharges her, and I'm going to I want to be there for her. I want to give that to her. Yeah. Now, in a perfect world, she's also looking to me and what recharges me, and she's trying to give me that as well. Yeah. And so when you have both people doing that in God's design, it really brings peace in your marriage because you're both actually helping to. There's some sacrifice, but there's also you're getting. There's an equation there that's balanced. What usually happens is we have one or the other that thinks. Well, I shouldn't say thinks that. Feels like they're giving all the time and the other one's not. And so there's, again, we draw back to God's word and we say, okay, how can you sacrifice for her and for him? Yeah. And so I say it's simple because really it is simple. It's to look to the other's needs before your own. Yeah, yeah. That's, I mean, like, isn't that the golden rule from Matthew? Right. It is kind of applies to marriage. I mean, that's where it's at. So I also will say this because this is kind of a pet peeve of mine. Okay. Men or women, I'll say this to men. Men hold on to some hobbies sometimes from that make them happy a little too much, and many times it could be hunting, it could be sports, it could be golf, it could be whatever, and they sometimes need to realize that they have a wife now, and that she needs to be number one. Yeah. And sometimes that gets out of line. Again, I say that to men. I see that a lot. Women too, and even in my own life, like the things that I do sometimes can, time-wise, can get out of hand, and I've got to say, okay, I need to. How have I cared for my wife today? Right, like that's good. Oh, not at all. Maybe I need to. How is she going to get filled up today? And we all need every day. We have to remind ourselves that. Yeah. Yeah, I think I like how you said that. That's really good. I have a comment to make, but I want to rewind real quick because I lost where I was coming from. I just want to say Colossians 1 is kind of that I was referring to, like the creation after Christ and the fact that it's all His. So if just read through that, I just want to make sure that people didn't think I was just making something up. Colossians 1 is where I got that from, and I lost my place in my notes. I love what you say there. So back to the marriage thing. Yep. And this was, I remember my wife and I will do marital counseling, and I'll talk about this. When I first got married, like I had a very strong core group of dude friends, and it was just a typical like whatever you were just used to. Friday night was whatever. I don't remember what night. Friday night was like hangout night, and I remember first being married and just thinking like, okay, I'm gonna go over to so and so's now. And she's like, okay. Right. I mean, it was so selfish of me. I just thought like nothing was going to change. Sure. And not that she cared if I went over there, but it was a little bit of the like you didn't even consider now that you're married, like life was just going to continue. Yeah. So I like what you said there. I would also add, just in working through that is, when I think about it, definitely not doing a perfect job of this all the time. But when I think about it, I would want whatever rejuvenates my wife. Like I would think
I want you to do that as much as you can.
Yep.
Like a rejuvenated wife is a rejuvenated me. You know what I mean?
That's right.
That's why, not the reason I do it,
Yep.
but I think about that and go, man, whatever that's going to bring you that rejuvenation, I would love for you to have that. If you need some time alone, if you need to go out, I would want that for her. So both sides ask that question, like how can I help my spouse find that rejuvenation? But I will agree with you in the sense that it is generally, maybe this is super stereotypical, it is generally the dude that's always wanting a little bit more and more hobbies, and the wife that seems like they're giving a lot. And I do think that is a huge part of a man laying down his life for his wife.
That's right.
As Christ did for the church. Like I think that is a big part of it. And I'm feeling a little convicted now that I talk about this, thinking about like things that I do. I'm like, oh man, I need to do more for my wife for sure. But
well, I think that's why, in Ephesians 5, it goes on to say, in the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. Like I think about, they're saying, men, you think about yourself, you think about your needs, you have no problem, you have no problem fulfilling whatever need you have and whatever you want to do, but you need to think of your wife's needs just like you would your own.
Right.
As much as you think about yourself in a day and what you want and what you're going to do.
Yeah.
If you devoted half that time to thinking about what your wife needs, that'd be probably pretty good for your marriage.
Yeah. That's good. So. Yeah. And I would say too, just know when we say that, we're actually talking to the husband. I don't think it's ever fair for the other party to hold that over their head and be like, Todd and Scott said that husbands are the worst one here. So wives don't use that as to say like
no ammunition.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I definitely think we talk a lot about that too. I mean, we could talk a lot about this because we talk a lot about it in marriage ministry.
Yeah, sure.
But, praying for those changes if you're in a marriage that's struggling with that imbalance where you feel like one is being fulfilled and the other's being drained. Praying for that balance and praying for it's not our responsibility to fix and correct each other in a marriage either. I think we have to be very careful about that. See all the things you're doing wrong. If you just did all the, we have to be very careful to encourage one another and demonstrate what we want to see in the other person. And let God soften the heart.
Absolutely.
And then say, wow, my wife has been, she said, made all these sacrifices. I've noticed over the last, maybe I should do that. She's an example to me, or vice versa.
Yeah, no, that's so good. That is so good that you say that too. Like it's for each individual to say, what is my part and what can I do better? Not to point the finger. And I use this example in marital counseling all the time of the love languages. Like if you speak a love language to your spouse, the natural inclination is to want to come back and speak that love language. If you speak what is not a love language, like you feel like you've taken a step back. Right. So it's like, I'm going to act this way. And that's human nature to go, oh man, he or she has been extremely loving, kind, like asking those questions. I've realized that. It makes me want to step closer to her or him in that scenario too.
It's because when we see Christ in each other, it's compelling. It makes us want to be more Christ-like. When we see, there's not a lot of things that bring me to tears, but when I see people being compassionate to one another, like even in movies, like, whatever, when I see people doing kind things for a needy person or in marriages, and when my wife does something, like that is, when I see that's Christ demonstrated in somebody, when I see that, it's compelling to me. I'm like, that's awesome. Yeah. It just hits me. Right. And when we do that for each other, like it has an effect on our marriage and how we think of each other. So that's good.
Okay. So I hope you take those principles to heart, whether it was the person that submitted the question or anybody in marriage, maybe thinking through some of those things. So, well, Todd, we got through 2 questions today. So I think it was good. And that clock burns so fast. I can't believe it. That's but, thanks for hanging out with me today.
It was great. Thanks, man.
In place of Wes. Appreciate you being here. And certainly had some good conversation. Hope you guys enjoyed it. But as always, don't take our word for it, being his, and we will see you next time on the Encore.